Hello, I'm Will, this is Mike, we're the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video we're bringing you issue 58 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms magazine. This issue came with 2 pots of paint, Retributor Armour and Carroburg Crimson. It should also have come with the next battle mat, but unfortunately this one didn't. It got delivered a couple of issues later, I think a problem a number of people had. But as usual, if you want to skip straight ahead to the battle report, then there'll be a timecode in the description, or you can use the chapter bars. We'll have a look inside the issue. First up, we have the background on the Drakesworn Templars. These are Stormcast Eternals who have found the soul of a great star drake and bonded with it, and then they form an inseparable pair, rider and mount. Obviously, they are extremely powerful thanks to the prowess of the Stormcast Eternals and the raw power of the star drake. They're part of the Stormcast Extremist Chambers, which also include the Dracoth riding warriors. Then we have background on the Gloomspite Gits. These are part of the Forces of Destruction, primarily made up of the Moon Clan Grots, which are some of the smaller greenskins, but also including various other creatures. And they're cowardly and devious and tend to live in underground, dark places. And they also venerate the strange object called the Bad Moon, and when it rises, they go into a bit of a frenzy. And here's some of the creatures that make up their hordes. We've got Squigs, and the Moon Clan Grots themselves, the Spiderfang tribes, who are Grots riding on large spiders, and the Troggoths. Then we have more of the Book of the Dead. This is about the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, who I think we've learnt about before, but this is a kind of in-universe description. When they conquer empires, they demand a tithe of bone from the conquered. And then over the page is the 3 castes of the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. The Emissarian caste, diplomats and magic users and architects and things like that. The Pryad caste, which is sort of bone constructs, nightmarish creatures and artillery pieces and things like that. And the Thorak caste, which is basically the foot soldiers. Then we have some background on the rivalry between Sigmar and Gash, who were once allies, united in fighting chaos, but never really trusted each other, and then they both blamed each other and believed to have been betrayed by the other, because Sigmar didn't aid Nagash when Shyish was invaded, and then Nagash didn't aid Sigmar in the battle for the Burning Skies, and Sigmar stealing souls for his Stormcast Eternals, which Nagash didn't like. And a bit more on the back about how this shattered the Pantheon of Order and paved the way for the Chaos invasion in the Age of Chaos. Then we have more of the story of the Night Questor Wylan Lightbearer and his journey into the Silver Tower. There's a number of little vignettes here detailing his journey. And over the page he actually encounters the gaunt summoner who rules the Silver Tower. Then we have a painting guide. This is just adding more details to the Nighthaunt with the new paints we've got, and also some of the old ones. Using Carroburg Crimson to do the tendony, fleshy bits on the Hexwraith horses. Otherwise it's mostly just highlights. And a little bit about how to paint the blades of the Dreadscythe Harridans, which is actually give them 2 different washes and then highlight them, which gives them an interesting look. And there's some completed models there. And some more over the page, so continuing to add more detail to the Nighthaunt. But that's it for our issue rundown. So now we'll have a look at our game for this issue.
So before we can get into our game for this issue, we got a little guide here on about how to select your army. So it gives you a couple of ways to choose your army when getting into a game. So the first one is just whatever the battle plan tells you, which we've been doing so far, apart from the previous issue. The second way is to just choose your favourite models, the ones you like the poses of, or ones you're particularly proud of having painted, or the ones that you consider to be the most powerful. All pretty valid ways of choosing your army. And the third way here is if the battle plan itself provides choices. I'm not sure if any of the sort of official battle plans will provide these, but certainly in the upcoming issues of Mortal Realms they will. So you can see in this battle plan the Nighthaunt have a choice of heroes and a choice of different troops choices. It notes here that particularly powerful units will actually count as 2 choices if you have multiple choices, and you can make War Skull battalions if you take the units that make up those battalions as well. And here you can see the players have chosen some units here from their choice of units. And now we have some backstory coming into our game. Here we have something from the point of view of a spirit that has been raised by Knight of Shrouds and given purpose. And its purpose is to defend the Chamonite the Nighthaunt been gathering against the forces of the traitor god Sigmar. And even if the spirit dies in that duty, it can be risen again and again and again, thanks to Nagash. Over on the next page we have the sort of strategic overview again. The Nighthaunt have been forced on the defensive by the Stormcast Eternals, but some more powerful spirits are being assembled into specially chosen strike forces so that they can defend against any Stormcast Eternals raids. So also here you can see this box with Nighthaunt troops that will be used in the upcoming game. And down here, the Stormcast have, through cunning tactics, they've been able to gain the upper hand in the conflict and have been making precision strikes across the Sigyorn that have been costing the Nighthaunt dearly in both souls and Chamonite, it says. And over here you have the strategic map, and you can see some events that have been happening as the war in the Sigyorn progresses. Lord Alternator Stormfoe has been scrying for portents of the future, and he has foreseen that the Nighthaunt will be able to escape the realm with enough Chamonite for their purposes, but undaunted, Stormfoe is making defensive preparations. Down here in the south, some Nighthaunt are attacking some forces of the Fireslayers in an attempt to claim one of the Fireslayers' battle forges, because it is a source of Chamonite. And up here to the northwest of the Glitter Mine, the Stormcast Eternals are conducting a raid on a Nighthaunt caravan carrying Chamonite. And then we can get into our battle plan Into the Darkness, representing the battle that's going on to the northwest of the Glitter Mine, where both commanders have to carefully choose their forces to try and anticipate what their opponents are bringing. So we can see we have our board set up with the 3 battle mats, the territories along the long edges, and then each territory has an objective in it, close to the board edge, on the sort of opposite wings of the battlefield. We'll be using the Realm of Metal rules as usual. For our terrain we'll be using the Time-Worn Ruin, the Fallen Sigmar statue and the Sigmarite Mausoleum. The game will last for 5 battle rounds and the winner is decided on victory points. We gain a victory point at the end of each of our turns for each objective we control in our own territory, and 2 victory points for each objective we control in our opponent's territory. So for me, I get 1 victory point for each of these objectives in mine, and 2 for each in the Stormcast territory. And then for our armies, you can see both sides have 2 heroes each, and then 3 choices from the troops list. So you can see for the Nighthaunt we have Reikenor the Grimhailer and the Knight of Shrouds, and the Stormcast Eternals have the Lord Arcanum on Celestial Dragonling and the Night Questor. And then on the previous page, you can see here we have the choices of Stormcast troops. So I won't go over them, we'll just reveal what we have, and we'll come back after you finish setting up the board and so on, and see what armies we picked, and you can get into the game. So finished setting up the battlefield. So you've kind of got 2 smaller battles going on, one on each wing. So do a quick overview of the terrain. We've got the Time-Worn Ruin over here, the Sigmarite Mausoleum, and then the Fallen Sigmar statue over on the right hand board, and we roll on the table. And got a 1 which is the Damned result, which is the one where you can take wounds to reroll 1s to hit. Don't know if that will come up much that often. And I'll go over my deployment first. So on my left flank I've got Reikenor the Grimhailer and one of my troops choices, which is 5 Harridans next to that objective. And over by my other objective I've got the Knight of Shrouds, who will be my general, and my other 2 troops choices are a unit of 10 Chain Rasps and 3 Spirit Hosts.
And over on my side, so this is opposite Reikenor and the bedside Harridans, we've got the Lord Arcanum, who will be my general, 4 Gryph-hounds and 2 Prosecutors, which are 2 of my choices. And over on the other flank, we've got the Night Questor and 4 Sequitors, who are one of my choices. And only the Prime has a Great Mace, because the War Scroll for Sequitors says they can take Great Maces 2 in every 5. But if there aren't 5 of them, they obviously can't take any more Great Maces. But the Prime can take 1 in addition always. So.
We're into battle round 1. We're rolling off to see who goes first. So even though I won the roll-off, I'm going to make the Stormcast go first. So we'll head into Stormcast turn 1.
So in here, phase I gain a command point, and then the Lord Arcanum is going to try and cast Metamorphic Warding. He needs a 7. Gets it with a 9.
Might as well try and unbind it. Needing a 10. Only getting a 9.
He'll put that on himself. The Prosecutors are actually just over, not quite wholly within 12, which is actually the range. Prosecutors have moved over here. They're in throwing hammer range of the Harridans. The Lord Arcanum has moved into the middle, making sure they are within 12 inch range for next turn, and the Gryph-hounds have just moved over there. And on the other end of the board, I'm not going to move at all, because I don't see the point at this juncture. So then I do have a shooting phase. The Prosecutors will throw some hammers at the Harridans. 4 shots, hitting on 4s, re-rolling 1s. We've got 1 hit and a re-roll, which I can't get in the box, which missed. And 1 hit, which did not wound. And that's it. I could technically declare a charge for the Prosecutors, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, and at the end of the Stormcast turn, they gain control of both objectives in their deployment zone, which means they score 2 victory points, 1 for each of those objectives. So my hero phase, I gain a command point, and Reikenor is going to try and cast Mystic Shield, needing a 6. He gets it with a 7.
May as well try and unbind, needing an 8 or a 10.
Then in my movement phase, the Harridans are going to kind of stay where they are. They're going to stay near Reikenor though, they're staying near this objective. Reikenor himself is going to move to the other side of the Harridans, get closer to those Prosecutors. And over on the right, all of my forces are moving up. They're 6 inches, but the Knight of Shrouds is going to hang back a little bit to hold that objective. Well, otherwise that's it for my turn. I'm not going to declare any charges. At the end of my turn, I'll gain control of both of the objectives in my territory, so I will also gain 2 victory points. So we're on to battle round 2 and rolling off to see who gets to go first.
I've won it, and I think I will go first.
So we're on to Stormcast turn 2.
So I gain another command point, and Reikenor is just within 18 inches for an arcane bolt, so we'll try that. So needing a 5, getting a 5.
We'll try and unbind that, needing a 6, getting it with a 7.
And for movement, the Lord Arcanum and the Griff Hounds have moved out a little bit in front of their objective. Prosecutors have moved kind of into the centre of the board. The Night Questor and the Secretors have actually moved back a couple of inches. It's going to hold that objective. On to the shooting phase, we're going to throw hammers at the Harridans again. 4 shots hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. 1 hit again, wound on a 4. Oh, we did this time.
4 plus save, failed. I'll take away this one.
But that's it for my turn. I'm not going to declare any charges, and I don't get any control of any additional objectives.
Yeah, so it's going to be 2 more victory points for the Stormcast, bringing it up to 4, and we'll be on to the Nighthaunt turn. So in my hero phase, I gain a command point, go up to 2, and Reikenor is going to try and cast Arcane Bolt. Needing a 5, getting a 5.
Needing 6 to unbind. Yeah, getting a 7.
So in my movement phase, we're going to be a little bit risky. Reikenor has moved out into the middle, so he's 3 inches away from the Prosecutors, and the Harridans have moved across, so we're kind of abandoning that objective over on the left. And over here on the right, everyone's just moving up. And then in the charge phase, Reikenor will declare a charge. So he needs anything but a 2. Yeah, an 11 is definitely enough. So he'll finish his charge like that, and then the Harridans will also declare a charge. Gonna need something to be something impressive. Ooh, like an 11. So they will finish their charge like that. And I'm actually going to pick them to fight first, because Reikenor could survive any counter-attack. So the Harridans can pile in like that, getting all of them in, including the Slasher Crone. I'm going to spend a command point to use Living Blades, so they'll be hitting on 3s. I've got 13 attacks hitting on 3s. It's going to be 11 hits, and these are the old Harridans, so these 6s aren't 2 hits. So we've got 11 hits, wounding on 3s, and 6s are 2 damage, once again because these are the old Harridans. Oof. So they all wounded, and there's 5 6s in there.
Well, I'll do the 6s first, because they could just die from this, so I need to basically pass all of them. Yeah, failed 2, -1 rend, needing 5.
Failed 3.
Yeah, failed 3 because of -1 rend, and they're 2 damage each. That's the end of them.
And Reikenor charged, so he can technically be chosen to fight, so he can pile in. We'll have to just check to see who's closest. So he is closest to the Lord Arcanum, he'll pile in like that. But at the end of my turn, I still hold my 2 home objectives, so I go up to 4 victory points as well. Now on to battle round 3, we're rolling off.
Oh, you had a 6.
Yeah, well I win against your 2, so I'm going to go first. In my hero phase, I gain a command point, go back up to 2, and then Reikenor is going to try and cast Arcane Bolt. Needing a 5, getting it with a 5.
Try and unbind, needing a 6. Yep.
So in my movement phase, the Harridans are mostly moving up to stay in the middle of the board, but everyone else is moving towards the upper right objective where the Secretors and the Night Questor are. And obviously I've got no shooting, so I'll be on to the charge phase, and I'm going to start with the Spirit Hosts, I think. They're the important ones. So charge roll for the Spirit Host, probably going to need a 7 or an 8. I reckon that's going to be enough. So they'll finish their charge like that, and then the Chain Rasp will charge next. Going to need something similar to the Spirit Hosts. 5, that's definitely not going to be enough, so I will spend a command point to re-roll that. Into an 8, I reckon that's enough. So the Chain Rasp will finish their charge like that, and I think Reikenor will try and charge as well. Going to be needing a fairly high roll. Ooh, an 8, that might be enough. It's not quite enough, he'd actually need a 9, but I'm not going to spend a command point to re-roll it. So we'll be on to the combat phase.
I will do Power to Shields with my Secretors.
Yeah, and I'm going to spend a command point to use Living Blades on the Chain Rasps, and they're going to go first, and they'll put all their attacks on the Secretors. So we have 21 attacks hitting on 3s because of Living Blades. So we've got 13 hits in total, and then wounding on 4s, hitting 6.
And we have 4+ saves, re-rolling failures, thanks to Power to Shields. So re-roll. So take a wound. Put a wound on this one on that end. But now the Chain Rasps are 4, we'll do the Night Questor, so he will fight. He'll pile in forward slightly, and then he will put his attacks on the Spirit Hosts. He has 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, getting 3, and wounding on 3s, getting 3.
Well,
6s would have been 2 damage.
Yeah, but you didn't get any 6s, so 4+ save. Failed 2, made 1, so one of the Spirit Hosts takes 2 damage. So I'll put the wound on this one, and then the Spirit Host will go, and this one will pile in around, and they'll put all of their attacks on the Night Questor. So we have 18 attacks from the 3 Spirit Hosts, hitting on 5s, and 6s do mortal wounds. So there's 3 mortal wounds, and then there's 4 regular hits, wound on 4s, getting 3 more.
And he has a 3+ save, re-rolling failures, which he's made all of his. So he just takes 3 mortal wounds, and he's down to 2. But then the Secretors get to hit back. They don't need to pile in. All of them will attack the Chain Rasps because numbers matter. Prime with the Great Mace first, hitting on 3s. 6s do additional. No, 2 hits. And wounding on 3s, getting 2.
5+ saves. Made 1, that's 2 damage so far.
6 attacks from the rest of them, hitting on 3s, getting 3. And wounding on 3s, getting 1.
5+ save. Made that as well, so only 2 damage goes through. We'll take away these 2 on the end because they're furthest away from the objective. And that's the end of all the combat. There's no Battletop test needed to be made, but at the end of my turn 3 I still hold both of my home objectives, and then I will take that objective in the top right corner because I have more models within 6 inches of it than the Stormcast Eternals, so I'll gain 2 victory points for my home objectives and another 2 victory points for that objective I've just taken, bringing me up to 8. Well, on my turn I gain another command point, and we'll try and cast Metamorphic Warding because nothing's within range of Arcane Bolt. Needing a 7. I'll get it with a 10. I might as well try and unbind that. Gonna need an 11. I only got an 8. And I'll put that on himself because the Griffhounds don't have a save to improve. And then the Lord Arcanum is going to run, and we'll show it on camera because it's going to be important when he rolls whether he manages to get in range of the objective. Probably needs like a 2 or 3. A 5 is enough. That brings him to there, so he is within 6 inches of that objective, so I will take it at the end of my turn. And then the Griffhounds are just going to retreat into the corner because they're just going to try and hold this objective. They're never going to make it across the board to do anything else useful, so they might as well stay over here. And over here everyone will stay in melee. The Night Questor would actually have to run to be able to get far enough away from anything to be outside of 3 inches, and that wouldn't help much. So we'll just do that and go straight to the combat phase. I'll declare power to shields with the Secretors, and then I'll pick the Night Questor to fight first, and he'll put all his attacks on Spirit Hosts again. 4 attacks hitting on 3s. Getting 2, and wounding on 3s, 6s do 2 damage. We've got 1 wound, but it's just 2 damage. 4+ save, failed, so 1 Spirit Host will die. So that Spirit Host will die, and this one is on 2 wounds. I'm going to pick the Chain Rasp to go next. We've got 17 attacks hitting on 4s, and we've got 10 hits, and these wound on 4s. Getting 3. 3 4+ saves, rerolling fails. Take 1 wound, so the wounded Secretor will die. Die. Yeah, remodel counts. And then they will fight, and I think these 2 will put their attacks on the Chain Rasps. This one will attack the Spirit Host. Do the Prime on the Chain Rasps first. 3s. Ooh, double 6, which is 2d3, plus that extra 1, so 5 total. Wounding on 3s. 3. 5+ saves. Fell all of them, so there's 6 damage so far. 2 normal maces on the Chain Rasps. Hit once, and wound on 3. Did. 5+. Failed. So just 1 left. And 2 attacks on the Spirit Hosts, both missed. So all of the Chain Rasps, apart from the Dread Warden, will die. And I'll pick the Spirit Hosts to go next, and they'll both attack the Night Questor, see if we can finish him off. 12 attacks from the 2 remaining Spirit Hosts. Hitting on 5, 6s do mortal wounds. There's 2 6s in there, so that's going to kill him. So that's the end of the Night Questor. And that's the end of the combat phase. And the Battletop phase, the Dread Warden has to make a Battletop test. Chain Rasp took 7 losses, so on a 1, 2 or a 3, the Dread Warden will stay, which is important because if he stays, I'll maintain control of that objective. I got a 1, so he stays, and that means I still hold that objective. And that's the end of Battle Round 3, we're on to Battle Round 4, rolling off. I got a 6 to 1, so I'm going to go first, I think. So, in my hero phase, I'll gain a command point, go up to 1. And then Reikenor is going to use one of his corpse candles to put a wound on that Secretor. I would like to put it on the Prime, but he's not quite in range. And then Reikenor will try to cast Wraith Storm. So Wraith Storm has a casting value of 7, so he needs to roll a 6 because he gets +1. He needs to roll at least 6 though, because he gets +1 to the casting roll. He rolled a 9, so it's actually a 10. Well, I am in unbind range, so I might as well try and go for the 11. No, not quite. So it's going to be D3 mortal wounds to the Secretors for 3. And that will be enough to kill a model, so it's going to cause another D3 mortal wounds for 2. So it's going to be 5 in total. And given that this Secretor is wounded, that's enough to wipe them all out. Yeah. Reikenor is just going to turn around a bit. He's going to move close to the Time-Worn Ruins, so if the Lord Arcanum leaves, we might be able to go and sneakily take back my other home objective. Dreadside Harridans ran and rolled a 6, so they get to move a whopping 14 inches towards the other Stormcast home objective. And over on the right, the Knight of Shrouds ran and only rolled a 1. Spirit Host ran and rolled a 6, and they're both moving back to defend my other home objective, while the hero Dread Warden's just going to continue holding that objective up there. But I'm not going to declare any charges, so that'll be the end of my turn 4. Well, at the end of my turn, I hold one of my home objectives and 1 Stormcast objective, so I get 3 victory points and go up to 11. On to my turn 4, I gain a command point. I'll try and cast Arcane Bolt. Need a 5, getting an 8. Yeah, I'll try and bind that needing a 9. Well, I rolled a 1 in the box, so I can't possibly get a 9.
So we'll do D3 water wounds to the Harridans.
Yeah.
2.
2 dead Harridans.
The Griffhounds will move up, try and finish them off. And the Lord Arcanum needs to run. We'll try and roll the 6, but I'll spend a command point if I don't get it. So no, I need to spend a command point to get the 6 to have a chance of getting to the other objective. So he gets right to the centre of the board. He'll need to do a similar thing next turn to get over to the other Nighthaunt home objective. And then these Griffhounds will charge the Harridans. Probably need about a 5. 9 is good. It's easy enough to get them in. They'll attack. This one here is the prime on the end. I'll spend a command point actually on Living Blade to give them +1 to hit. So 9 attacks hitting on 2s. Did help. We've got 8 hits. And winning on 4s. 6.
4+ saves. Didn't make enough, so too many Harridans will die.
And then the Griffhounds get to make their retreat move, so they'll end up there.
That's the end of the battle round. The Stormcast control this objective and their other home objectives, so they get 3 victory points and go up to 10. So, battle round 5, rolling off. 3.
2.
I'm going to go first. Winning that roll off is going to be very important. I'm not going to bother casting any spells. All that's going to happen is Reichenor's going to run, and I did spend my command point to turn into a 6, so I only rolled a 1. But that gets him close enough to take back my home objective. And over here the Knight of Shrouds ran as well, and it's enough to get him within 6 of my other home objective, but far enough that the Lord Arcanum couldn't possibly charge. So even if the Lord Arcanum runs into range, I'll still hold the objective because I have a model on it. And that's going to be it for my turn. I have both my home objectives, and still have that one Stormcast objective up in the top right, which will get me 4 victory points, and I'll go up to 15. And at this point, the Stormcast cannot possibly get enough to win, I don't think.
Yeah, because the Lord Arcanum would have to claim both of the 2 Nighthaunt home objectives to gain me 5 victory points to actually tie the game, and I can't, that's not possible.
Yeah, so we're going to call that a Nighthaunt victory, and recap that for you now. So that was the game for issue 58 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms magazine. How did you think that went?
I don't know, it was kind of interesting. I think I just got outmanoeuvred really in that game. The Lord Arcanum didn't do anything. His Cycle of the Storm never got to be used, which is very handy. And the Griffhounds didn't. All they did was sit on an objective, which is possibly a waste of their speed. And you killed my Secretors and Night Questor by mortal wounding them to death after regular attacks didn't really do much. Yeah, the Night Questor was really not good against Spirit Host.
Yeah,
his rerollable save doesn't count for much. I think possibly if a couple of winning the priority roll had gone my way, it might not have been so bad, but mostly, I just think my army wasn't fast enough to respond.
Yeah, I do think because the objectives are so far spread apart, your 2 armies can't really support each other as well as mine can, and I can just fly over any terrain as well. I have a huge mobility advantage and a slight speed advantage.
And I did take some fast units, but they ended up basically being on the back foot reacting to your moves rather than being able to do anything. Possibly the time I did win a roll-off and opted to go first, I possibly should have opted to go second, although I think the result would have been pretty much similar, which would have been Reikenor would have charged the prosecutors and then been in the middle of the board. What I wanted to achieve with going first was sending the prosecutors into the middle of the board and the Lord Arcanum and the Griffhounds up the other side, so that you had a dilemma of which way to send your guys. In the end, you sent them all into the middle and it all worked out fine, so it didn't really work out for me.
Reikenor would have ended up closer to your other home objective, and you might have been able to sneakily take that if you'd gone for mine. So.
And if certain things hadn't happened, like if my Secretary Prime with the Great Mace hadn't gone on a rampage and killed 7 Chain Rasps, then you wouldn't have even been at risk of losing that objective. So.
Yeah, the Dread Warden was a total hero in not running away, but if I'd made one more save, I would have had 3 Chain Rasps and I wouldn't have been needed.
It's a difficult scenario, perhaps in general, because with only 5 units each, you have actually got to decide what you're going to put where.
Yeah, and I guess some of it does come down to what units you choose to take. I guess if you're taking something like Retributors, you probably have to leave them on an objective. They're far too slow to really go out and attack things. I guess you could send them out to meet something that's coming towards them.
Yeah, just you can't really redeploy them.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the army I took as well. I don't think I would actually change any of it. I suppose technically I could take another unit of 5 Harridans instead of the unit of 10 Chain. That might have actually been better. Also, you have some weird unit sizes. I don't know why you have 4 Secretors and 4 Liberators. And 2 Prosecutors as well. I don't know, maybe it is a balancing thing.
Yeah, maybe they felt that the bigger units were just more in favour of the Stormcast. Well, especially because I can't take the big maces with 4 Secretors. I can only take the 1.
I think this might be the only case where you have weird numbers as well. I think from now on we start moving into choose your own forces, which we did talk about in the previous game, but this is more like how choosing an army would actually be, I suppose.
Yeah. I think, as you said when you were talking about it, it's not that usual to have a list of units to take in a scenario.
Yeah, normally you would choose an army based on some sort of points buy system, where you pay points to take certain units rather than just choosing from a list.
Yeah, more as you say, you'd either pick an army using some kind of balancing method like points, or just number of wounds, or just pick the units you like.
Yeah, or even within having some sort of points or wounds, then you'd probably still take the models you like the most.
And when you are playing different kinds of games, the way you pick your army might be different to how you'd just do it if you wanted to play out a cool scenario or have a story-based narrative kind of game. So that kind of plays into the different ways of playing as well a bit.
I guess if you're doing a tournament, I suppose you probably try and go for a more balanced army. Maybe try and pick the ones that fit the objective best, because you don't know who you're going to be facing. But in casual games, you're probably equally fine taking models you like. It's obvious that there are certain combinations of units that are powerful, so I guess you probably would take those. You probably take a mixture of those and then just take some extra units that you like, I guess.
Yeah, and as it mentioned, War Scroll battalions as well come into effect when you're picking your army, because there might be a unit that is less effective, but if you do bring it, then you can make use of a War Scroll battalion or something, so that can improve the unit or just do other stuff as well.
Well, anyway, I don't think there's too much more to talk about this game or the tissues, so if you like this content, please leave a like and subscribe. Leave any comments. How do you like to pick your armies, or if you played this now, what armies would have you picked if they're any different to ours? We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.